All right. Good afternoon, guys. So for those of you who have not been to one of our classes before or have never met me, my name is Miss Chrissy. And today we are going to be continuing our first grade lessons. And we're going to talk about the things that plants need to grow. So the last time we talked about the different parts of the plant. And so now we're going to learn about how we can make those plants grow. And if you're not in first grade, that is perfectly okay. This information is good for everybody, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys help me, all right? How many of you have planted things before or have grown things at home or have seen things grow at maybe a grandparent's house? Give me a thumbs up if you're one of the people that has done that. Thumbs up. I got a couple thumbs up. Oh, almost everybody. Awesome. So some of the things that you need to do, you can't just plant a seed and hope that the plant grows. You need to make sure that it has certain things. It's kind of like you guys need certain things in order to grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys unmute yourselves, and I'm going to have you start to give me a list of some of the things that you think plants need in order to grow. Okay, so does anybody want to answer? Okay, you can go ahead and shout it out if you have an answer.
Water.
Water.
Water. Okay, so water.
Sun.
What else?
Soil.
Soil.
Sun.
Sun. Sun is very important.
Air.
Air. Everything that's living needs air to breathe, correct?
And sun, water, and air make a thing inside the leaves that helps the plant.
So you're thinking of, yeah, so the water, the nutrients from the soil, and the air all get combined using the energy from the sun, and they use photosynthesis in order to produce food. Is that what you're thinking of? That's right. So these are the four main things that plants need, but there's a few other things that you might not normally think of. So I think you kind of alluded to one of those things just now when you were talking about the things that they get from the soil. So the soil not only gives the plants something to grab onto and to grow within, but it also provides nutrients, okay? So have you guys ever either taken vitamins, whoops, I have to spell correctly, taken vitamins in the morning, or maybe have heard of the word vitamins? Give me a thumbs up if you've ever, yes? Okay. So for you guys, there are certain things that you might need in order to grow healthy and strong. So maybe calcium, vitamin C, things like that. Our plants need nutrients and things to help them be healthy as well. So those things might be called, might include phosphorus or potassium or nitrogen. There's all different nutrients in the soil that our plants absorb through the water and help them grow, okay? What else? So if I have a garden, all right, you guys, last year you guys planted beans and peas, correct? And if I took a handful of bean seeds and I dropped them all on the ground and let them all grow in the same space, do you think that they would all grow to be healthy plants?
Because they're squished.
They're squished, right? So our plants need space as well, okay? How many of you, have your parents ever asked you to help them weed a garden or a planter bed? Yes? So the reason why we weed is because we have to make space for our plants. We have to make sure that they are able to get the nutrients they need from the soil and they're not competing with other plants. They need to be able to see the sun. And again, they don't want to be overshadowed by other plants. So we need to make sure that if we want healthy plants, that they have space to grow. Okay? So where do all of these things come from? How do our plants get water? If you're at home, how might your plants get water?
Rain. If you put like maybe a bottle of water in the soil and pour it into the soil?
Yeah, so you can water it through maybe a bottle of water, or if you have like a watering can like me.
My mom.
But what if you have a giant farm? Yep, go ahead. With your head raised.
What about rain?
Rain, exactly. So we could get it through rain. We could get it through maybe a watering can. And we could also, if you're out on a large farm and maybe it's a drought and you don't have a lot of rain, you could use a giant thing to disperse water. So if you are outside and you want to water your brother or sister, you might pick up the what? You're going to spray them. A hose. Yeah, so you can use a hose or a sprinkler in order to water your plants.
You could grab your water bottle and drop it at someone.
You could. All right, and then soil, where do we get soil from? Yes.
We get soil usually from stores.
We could get it from the stores, right? I have a big bag of soil. Let me see if I can show you. Right over there, you'll see I have that green bag of soil. All right, I got that from the store. But the soil itself comes from somewhere. They have to get it from something in order to put it in a bag.
Dirt.
And soil is made up of lots of different things. It's made up of old leaves. It's made up of decaying material, like maybe a bird or an animal that died, or maybe there's rocks that get ground up. So all of these things decompose and they make soil. So I have
Compost
right here a plate of, there's some dirt on here. Do you guys see that? But I also have, this is actually husks from a corn on the cob. All right. And these things are being broken down into soil. And how are they being broken down into soil? What is helping them to break down from this into the brown dirt that we are used to? Do you guys know what does that?
No.
No? Well, there's a couple things. I started working at the farm in Natick recently, and they like to call the things that help break down the soil FBI agents, okay? And not the FBI agents that are fighting crime, but our FBI agents that break down our food and waste into soil. And what FBI stands for is fungus, bacteria, and insects, okay? So you could have little worms, you could have spiders, you could have all kinds of things. So in here, I'm gonna show you on this plate, can you guys see that? I have worms that are helping to break down this food into soil. Now, these are my special worms because these worms I bought online, and they break down food very quickly. They're called red wigglers. And I'm going to take off this. I was going to use a glove, but you know what? It's getting in the way. So I'm going to pick one of these guys up. These red wigglers are a lot skinnier and smaller, whoops, on my keyboard, than the big worms that you might find outside called the earthworms or the night crawlers, all right? So these worms are a little bit smaller, but they love to eat the food that we throw out. And so they chew it up, and they then have their worm castings that pass through, and that is what creates the soil. And in the soil, there's lots of nutrients. So our worms are helping to break down all that dead material into soil that is going to contain a lot of the things that our plants need, okay? Now, the other thing that our worms give us is the next one of the other things on our list. Remember, we talked about our plants need air. And they not only need air above the ground, but they actually need air below ground too. So our worms, when they're tunneling through the soil, they're creating pockets of air that the roots can access, and it'll help our plants grow stronger. Okay, so the things that are in the soil that help to make the soil also help to get our plants other things that they need. Okay, how about the sun? That one seems pretty obvious, right? Where does the sun come from? How do we get the sun for our plants?
Sky?
It's in the sky, right? It's just there. But we do need to make sure that there is space for our plants, because if there is a large tree growing over the plant that we're trying to grow, it's going to shade the plant so that it cannot see the sun. So we need to make sure that our plants are able to see the sun. And sometimes I grow my plants inside. So I'll put my plants in the window so it can see the sun, or I create artificial light, okay? So I create my own sunlight. So this, can you guys see this here? This is what we call a grow light. So I have these in my greenhouse, and I can turn it on. Hold on, let me see if I can turn it on. There we go. And when I turn it on, it has a bright light. And this light gives the plants enough of the rays that it needs, the UV rays that it needs, in order to start growing while it's in my house. I eventually have to get it outside so it does see the natural sunlight, but I can start to grow plants inside where I don't have the sun. Okay. All right. Back to nutrients here. Remember we talked about nutrients. A lot of it comes from the soil and the food that those worms and those insects are breaking down. If I don't have a lot of nutrients in my soil, if my soil has maybe a lot of rocks in it and it doesn't have the specific nutrients that my plants need, gardeners and farmers can also, almost like you guys have vitamins, we can add nutrients to the soil through fertilizers and plant food. So we can sprinkle this in the soil to add things that maybe our plants don't have enough of, so that they can grow faster and better. Okay. All right. Back on the sun. So the sun, we need the light from the sun, but there's something else that the sun gives us that's very important. Okay. So I'm going to give you a hint. The other day, I planted radishes, and this is now my radish. Does that look healthy? No, it does not. It is in fact dead. It did not, it just kind of died. All of its leaves just kind of shriveled up. Now, why did it die? Well, the other day, it was a couple days ago, I put this plant outside so that it could start growing outside and getting more sunlight. What happened the other day, do you think, that was very unusual for the springtime that could have killed the plant? Yes. Caleb.
Burned it?
No, it didn't burn. It's actually the opposite.
No,
yes.
Oh, is it
the lady who has her hand up? What do you think happened the other day?
No sun?
It wasn't no sun. We had the sun. If you want, you can go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to answer.
Snow.
We had snow. That's right. It got very cold. So there's something that the sun gives us that our plants need. What do you think it is? Not light, but
heat.
But being
heat.
white.
Exactly. We need the light and we need the warmth.
To be
okay, or the heat. All right. Some plants like cooler weather, but most plants like it to be warmer. Okay. All right. So we have our air. We talked about we need air in the soil as well as above ground, and we need our space. That's great. You guys did a great job. So what? Oh, with warmth. Sorry, I forgot to say one thing. With warmth, if I'm trying to grow things in the winter, which I do sometimes, I can't do it outside because it's too cold. So in addition to the artificial light, I can create artificial warmth. So this is a heat mat, and it's almost like an electric blanket. So I can put my plants on top of it, and it keeps them nice and warm, okay? So I'm able to provide warmth for my plants even if it's not warm outside.
Is that because it's black and it's
All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to read you a book really quickly, actually. All right. So I muted you guys for a moment so I can read you a book. And this book talks a little bit about the things that plants need to grow, but it focuses on what's underground and how our garden and our plants are going to interact with the things around them that are in the soil. So this book is called Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt. And I encourage you this summer or this spring to go outside and in a place that your parents say is okay, maybe dig a little bit of dirt up and look to see what's inside, because it's really kind of cool what happens below ground. Up in the garden, I stand and plan, my hands full of seeds and my head full of dreams. Spring sun shines down to melt the sleepy snow. Wind whistles through last year's plants, and mud sucks at my rain boots. It's not quite time, Nana says. Down in the dirt, things need to dry out and warm up. What's down there, I ask? Down in the dirt is a whole busy world of earthworms and insects, digging and building and stirring up soil. They're already working down in the dirt. Up in the garden, we snap brittle stalks, scoop rustly armfuls, and wheel away weeds for the chickens. While they squabble and scratch, we spread compost over the soil. And compost is that dirt we talked about that is broken down foods that are broken down by all those insects. Down in the dirt, pill bugs chew through last year's leaves. I give a gentle poke. They roll up tightly and hide in plated suits of armor, roly-poly round. Up in the garden, it's time to plant. I trail a furrow with my finger and sprinkle seeds in a careful row. Give them a drink, Nana says. We pat them down to snuggle in the dark. Down in the dirt, a tomato hornworm rests, waiting for wings and the leaves where she'll lay her eggs. Up in the garden, carrot plants sprout. Pea blossoms bloom. Wasps are on the prowl, and honeybees visit, legs loaded with pollen. I weed and wilt in the sun so strong, even Nana looks for shade. Down in the dirt, earthworms tunnel deep. I'm jealous of their cool, damp dark. Up in the garden, rain shower, Nana turns the hose on me. Eee! I hide behind the cucumber vines, but their leaves can't save me. I shiver and laugh, drenched in Nana's rain. Down in the dirt, water soaks deep. Roots drink it in, and a long-legged spider stilt walks over the streams. Up in the garden, there's so much to eat. Ladybugs feast on aphids. Nana crunches green beans. I bite a ripe tomato, warm from the sun. Juice dribbles down my chin. Down in the dirt, a robin's beak finds a cricket, a beetle, a grub. Slugs are scrumptious too. Up in the garden, we pick cukes and zucchini, harvesting into the dark. Bats swoop through the sunflowers, and I pluck June bugs from the basil until it's time for bed. Down in the dirt, skunks work the night shift. They snuggle and dig and gobble cutworms while I sleep. Up in the garden, a praying mantis wakes to hunt mosquitoes. Nana sprays away the aphids, and I'm after grasshoppers, ready to swoosh. But snap! Someone else is faster. Down in the dirt, a smooth, shining garter snake crunches on supper. Up in the garden, the wind grows cool. Pumpkins blush orange, and sunflowers bow to September. Nana ties them together to build a house for reading. Down in the dirt, an orb weaver spins her web, strand by silken strand. She'll munch on moths tonight. Up in the garden, colored leaves litter the squash vines, and we know the cold is coming. Hurry, hurry, and harvest. There's enough for the neighbors, too. Down in the dirt, frantic ants gather what we leave behind. They're storing food for cooler days ahead. Up in the garden, frost draws lace on leftover leaves, where secret egg sacs hang, waiting for the warm to return. We say goodbye and spread the winter blankets. Down in the dirt, beetles burrow, ants scurry home, earthworms curl tight in the dark. When Grandpa calls us in for soup, an autumn moon is rising. Up in the garden, dry corn stalks tremble, and the wind smells like winter. But the long, ripe days of summer still rest in the garden beds. The ladybugs and bumblebees, earthworms and ants are hunkered down, hiding, biding their time, dreaming of sunshine and blossoms and sprouts, under the bare arms of trees and the blanketing snow. A whole new garden sleeps down in the dirt. The end. And that was, by the way, that was by Kate Messner with art by Christopher Silas Neal. So I really like that book because even though it doesn't specifically go through and list out the things that our plants need to grow, it talks a lot about the change of seasons and how our plants are waiting on the sun and the water and how they get a lot of what they need from the creatures around them. And not only, the creatures don't only help with the soil, adding air and nutrients to the soil, but they also help above ground where we have plants that pollinate our flowers, and we also have insects that are going to prey upon things that might eat our plants. So aphids, for example, like to eat our plants. And so spiders and ladybugs are going to eat the aphids, and that keeps our plants safe and healthy. So that's why I really like this book. All right, so you guys know that plants need things to grow healthy, and so do you guys. So what are a few things that you guys need in order to keep yourselves healthy? Anybody want to tell me what are some of the things that you need to stay safe and healthy?
Excuse me?
Yes.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
What was the things that those rats were eating?
What were the things that the aphids?
No. Oh, no, not the skunk. I mean the skunks.
Oh, the skunks. Good question. Let us look at that page because I forget.
What were those thingies?
The skunks were eating. Where are our skunks? They were eating. It looks like they're eating slugs. Slugs or caterpillars. Oh, no, cutworms. They gobble cutworms. So they're a type of worm.
What's a cutworm? That's what
You know what? That's a good question. I am not familiar with the cutworm, so I honestly don't know, but that would be a really great thing for us to investigate, right? So maybe I'll do a little research.
I know what it is.
Do you know what it is?
I think it's just like things in soil that you find when you're digging up stuff with the orange eyes.
With orange eyes, it's very possible. And in fact, if you hold on 1 second, let me see. What is a cutworm? I'm going to ask Google what a cutworm is. The cutworm is the name used for the larva of a certain type of moth. So it's actually a baby moth. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I did not know that.
Oh, I thought it was a butterfly.
Yeah, no, so a larva of a moth. And we actually, butterflies, I love butterflies, but moths are pretty cool too. But we do a lesson on butterflies and we're going to be raising them. So we're going to have some videos of our butterflies as they grow, which is kind of cool. All right, so I want to show you guys, I made, how many of you guys know that we do a challenge each week, right? We ask you guys if you want to participate that you can go ahead and send in a picture of a craft that you guys did about the garden. So this week, since we're talking about the things that plants need to grow, I thought that maybe you guys could do a craft about the things that plants need to grow. So it could be a picture, it could be a sculpture. I did one. So this is the one that I did, where I made a diorama. Have you guys ever heard of a diorama before? No? So it's when you take like a box and you put it on its side and you decorate it to look like something. So in this case, my diorama is what plants need. So in here, I have a lot of the things. So we said we need the sun. So I have a sun that lights up. Then we said that we need water. So I created this little water cloud that if I pull on it, it should rain. And we have the rain that comes down. We also have the soil. And beneath the soil, if I can raise this up a little bit, beneath the soil, we can see the roots coming through. And we have lots of worms down there, and they are chewing through dead material and adding more nutrients into the ground. Also, I didn't label it. We have air in the background there, so just air all around. And then I also put some of the other creatures in here as well. So I have a little bumblebee back there, which is helping to pollinate my flowers. So this is my diorama, and it's here to just demonstrate what plants need in order to grow. So if you guys want, you can certainly, you don't have to make a diorama, but if you want to make a craft that talks about or demonstrates what plants need, I would love to see it. And I also thought that it would be fun. It doesn't even have to be realistic. So how many of you guys like science fiction? You like robots or creatures or things like that? I love that stuff. So I thought it might be also fun to imagine maybe a machine or a robot that can give plants what it needs so that we can give Miss Chrissy a break in the garden and I don't have to do all the weeding and the watering and the planting. So maybe like a conveyor belt that I put a seed on and it puts it in the soil, it waters it, it gives it sunshine, and out pops a plant. That would be wonderful. So you guys can do whatever you would like around this, but if you want to enter the contest, you just have to send me an email at seedtoharvest@benhampto.org before next week's lesson, which is on Tuesday. So if you guys want to do that, I would love to see your crafts. All right. And I will post the information. We have our site for your parents on Facebook and on the website that I will post the information if you guys want to participate. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So that is all we're going to talk about today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Hopefully you guys had fun, and I will see you soon. All right. Bye.